Here we go again, lads, in more ways than one. So I found out Windows unlinked my mic from OBS after it updated the last time it forced me to update. And, yeah, so I recorded a bunch of audio, and it turned out none of it was there because I haven't updated my Windows in, like, months, and forgot it likes to, you know, remove basic functionality from OBS sometimes. You know, just silly little Windows things. So, let's do this part 2 as best I can, I guess. We've got Galli, we've got Pachyrhino, which I continue to forget exists, and we've got Dibble, and then we go on to the main attraction that is Dilo and its new horrendous model. So, thoughts on the first little grab bag. They're alright, minus the drag, the Dibble being pushed, I should say, not drag. But anyway, it still looks weird. I mean, even with something there, it's gonna look funky, but, I mean, it's alright. It does what it needs to, I guess. Anyway, on to Dilo, because, oh boy. The animation itself looks fine. Like, I can't complain. But I'm going to continue to complain about the model they did, because who, in their right mind, puts pubic hair on the neck and chin of a dinosaur? Because every time I see it, it makes me wonder how many people okayed this and what they were on in order to okay it. Because he looks great aside from that. Granted, he's not textured right now, and I remember the texture around his face looking absolutely horrendous as well. So ironically, he looks better naked like this than he would, you know, any other time. He's still got the weird hair on him here for some reason, because that's definitely something you want to put as part of a model instead of an optional thing for people who like their dinosaurs to look like they rolled around on the floor and got a bunch of hairs stuck to them while they were sticky, but, you know, I guess some people like that. You can tell I'm not happy about having to redo this audio, by the way. Today's not been good, so we're gonna move on. The tail took up 90% of this because, you know, tails. The tip of it kept bending for whatever reason, and it took him a long time to fix this. I'm talking an insane amount of time. I cut most of it. You still get to see a fair amount of him fiddling with it, trying to get it to fix itself, but, yeah, it took him a long time. But he did eventually get it fixed, and it looks nice. Like, the animation itself looks great. At least to my untrained eye that isn't really looking too terribly deep, I suppose. I mean, at a glance, it looks fine. It looks and moves how I would think it would. I like Dilo a lot. He's one of my favorites in the roster. So I was looking forward to him to an extent. But the animation, yeah, it looks nice. I like it. I like the little hop he does. I mean, it's a step, but it looks like a hop the way it's done. But yeah, it's a charming little animation. I like it. It does what it needs to, but honestly, when it comes to attack animations, I think there's very few that I've ever had any problems with. And I wouldn't be able to name which one's off the top of my head, so there's that. I'm generally not too picky. I mean, it's gonna sound like I am because I'm gonna whine. Because it's easier to whine about something than it is to say I like it in 50 different ways. Because explaining you hate something is just so much easier. But anyway, I like it. It is cute. I enjoy it. Even if it might not sound like I enjoy it. I do. I just hope they give us cosmetic stuff down the line, because I'm very picky about what I have to stare at for hours and hours, because, I mean, you guys know how it is in the aisle. You have to look at your dino for however long it takes to let it grow up. I don't know how long they're gonna make Dilo in this case, because I think it's getting a size buff. I thought. I don't remember anymore, but I thought it was. So for all I know, it's going to take like 3 hours, and I'm going to have to stare at it for those 3 hours, and then however long I get it to, you know, stay alive. So, yeah, I'm picky, okay? I don't want to stare at something I don't like the design of. That's why I play the dinosaurs, I do, because they look cute or cool, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I want to stare at that for several hours, okay. That's how I choose my Pokemon and stuff too when I play games like that. Or Monster Hunter, or Monster Hunter Stories, or whatever the heck I'm doing. I like getting to stare at things that I enjoy the design of, but I think that's the case with most people. I mean, who wants to stare at something they think is ugly for like hours and hours and hours? But anyway, here's a zoom in on its face, because I know some people do like this model. And of course, no shade on those guys. You like what you like, and I can't blame you. And I mean, the model's nice. I'm not gonna say the model's bad, because it's a good model. I just personally, it's not my thing. And when I say that, I mean it's really, really not my thing. But we've gone over that. Anyhow, animation's nice. Not much more to say on that. Stream overall, it was alright. It's fine. I mean, it was one animation. It was an attack animation, and I do enjoy seeing the attack animations because generally speaking, as I said, they're cool. There's stuff going on. It's not just a walk. It's nice to see. So yeah, I liked it. It was alright, even if it was just one. And I enjoy Dilo, despite my whining. I do like Dilo. So it was enjoyable. Overall, nice stream. But that aside, because of the fact Dilo is naked rather than having the texture and stuff, I wonder if the texture's still undergoing changes, or if he just didn't want to have it on at the moment. Because, I mean, when he did Galli's animations, for example, he used one of what I later found out was an old texture. I had never seen it before because I started playing the Isle relatively late compared to some. I think it was right before Suka was released. It was early February. I don't remember what year, but I think it was before Suko, so you can probably narrow down there. And I've shot a screenshot before of when I bought the Isle, but I can't remember for the life of me what year it was, but Wave's Hand's not important. Anyway, so I never saw that texture before, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that's a new one they're going to be using for Galli. But someone later told me it was a really, really old one. So it's possible he just didn't feel like looking at the newer texture. Maybe it's not finished yet, maybe they're still undergoing changes like I mentioned, or maybe he simply just didn't like it, didn't want to look at it. Like with Galli's, he'll often use the old one. Sometimes he uses the more recent one, but other times he uses the other one. Could be personal preference, I don't know. Whatever the case, it's interesting. Models without their textures, they're an interesting sort of thing, because, I mean, there's still so much detail put into it, and without the texture on, I like being able to see, you know, how the model looks, like all the dips and curves and whatnot in it, because you can more easily tell what is and isn't on the model that way, if that makes sense, I suppose, but yeah, I like seeing it. The detailing is nice, and it's, again, the detailing's easier to see when there's no texture there that'll emphasize or perhaps hide some of the subtle things. Like with Cerato, for instance, if I recall, the crocodile-like scaling on his tail actually isn't on the model, that's the texture. So I found that pretty interesting. At least, that's what I remember seeing from the model that I saw a while back. I don't know if that's still the case, or if it was ever the case entirely, but I recall Bryan using one of Cerato's models when it was naked, when he was doing the joke dance animation, and that was a relatively smooth model, so again, I don't know how much of that was the complete model and how much of it was maybe just an old one that he scrounged up and was using for whatever reason. I don't know. But it was very, very smooth, and I found that pretty interesting, because you can just add so much with the texture. Like, it's just so much. And I find it interesting, but anyway, I think we're about done here, probably. It's been long enough. I've rambled enough. The OBS is actually working this time. I know, I should have checked. But it's been months since I've had to check, and so I just kind of forgot. It should be habit by now. Like, good YouTubers will know, check all of your stuff before you go into a recording, or else something bad's gonna happen like this, and I know I should have done it, but I just didn't think about it. I was like, okay, I've got to get this done. We're gonna do it. And it spaced it. I forgot. But, oh well, it's done. This one's probably better anyway because I was still warming up. Minus, you know, I guess it's gonna be a little bit more whiny, but people seem to enjoy that more, funny enough. I mean, people tend to watch stuff about, you know, critiques and complaining more than they do, you know, the positive stuff. It's very interesting, but people are like that. Anyhow, I hope you guys have all been doing well. Thanks as always for sticking around. Have a great day, night, whatever time you end up seeing this / it gets posted. And goodbye!
Thank you.